Hi there, everybody. It's Griffin. I am just popping in here quick to say that we have teamed up with Alberta Theatre Project to present our very first breakfast dish giveaway. If you leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser or whatever platform you might listen to our podcast on, and you send us a quick picture of it, you will be automatically entered to win 2 tickets to any date of Alberta Theatre Project's production of In Wonderland, obviously subject to availability, so hurry up and do this because tickets are going pretty fast. In Wonderland is by our guest this week, Anna Cummer, and we're very excited to be able to offer these for you. So, leave a review and you can send it to our Facebook or our Twitter or thebreakfastdish@gmail.com. Also, just to let you know, we'll be taking a little bit of a hiatus, and we will be back in the new year. We're going to take some Christmas time, and we will continue on with Season 3. Okay, here is a ad for the Alberta Podcast Network about a show that we really like.
Hello and welcome to That's a Thing, a sometimes belated, already outdated guide to your teens, tweens, and everything under 20. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Karen. Every month we have a conversation across the generation gap about media, pop culture, society, the internet, that kind of thing.
Karen is my mom, and she's old. I am her daughter, and I am young. Together we are one human being, here to share with you.
Sometimes we bring in another human being who's Elizabeth's brother, John, to do a deep dive into memes and stuff like that.
Hi.
Thank you, John. We were named the Outstanding Kids and Family Series at the 2020 Canadian Podcast Awards, so we have that going for us.
Yes, and we will brag about it until the day the podcast ends, because I am petty.
You can find That's a Thing in the podcatcher of your choice. That is That's a Thing! ! Exclamation point. You can also find us at albertapodcastnetwork.com. Is that everything?
I think that's it.
Thanks, sweetheart.
Bye!
Tell me your dreams over bacon and eggs. We'll share a laugh and a story and even a wish on the breakfast dish.
Griffin.
I can't tell if this is part of the show or if you're mad at me.
No,
Did I do something wrong for the prep of the podcast?
No, this is part of the intro. Griffin.
Okay. Yeah.
Welcome to episode 58.
Thank you for having me. I knew it was up in the air.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad that you could join me. You, my co-host, my son, Griffin Cork. You know how sometimes there's people that in their lives find out that they had like half brothers or sisters or kids they didn't know about, like you're later in life and all of a sudden somebody springs a new relative on you?
I know this could still be a serious topic, but I thought you were going to tell me you had cancer or something live on the podcast. Like, how people find out sometimes, a big change in your life. I didn't know where that was going is what I'm saying.
Cut that part out. I would never say that I had cancer on the podcast.
I don't know.
I'm anemic. There you go. Griffin.
Good God.
What I have to tell you is that I'm introducing you to a family member that you may not have known you were related to.
I think we've already spoken about this on the Jamie Dunstan episode.
Pretend we haven't.
Okay. Sorry. Note to editor, back to ones. Here we go.
I'm just saying, you remember we introduced...
Cool! Sorry, sorry.
Okay,
I'm just going to redo it, so
okay,
here we
great,
go. And sorry, guys waiting on Karen. Back to ones. Oh! Was that sorry, and cut. And was that good? Or?
No, that was pretty believable.
It was too much. I'm sorry.
It was too much.
I'm going to
Okay,
weigh
back
in.
to
It was
ones.
too
No, your
much.
new relative says it's too much. Pull it back,
call
pull
action,
it back.
call
Take
action.
3.
Here we go.
Action.
Oh, golly! That was probably a little bit more muted, right? Some would say.
Some might say that.
Not us, though. We wouldn't say that.
Yeah, if I know nuance, it's saying golly.
Oh, golly gee.
Golly is a word that needs to come back. Golly gee is a word that needs to come back in the world.
I know in the show right now, one of the characters says gee whiz a lot. And I'm going to really try and get gee whiz back into my vocabulary.
Right on.
Gee whiz.
Speaking of gee whiz, Gee whiz rhymes with cheese
Die for our
whiz.
sins. Oh, sorry.
Cheese whiz is a snack I used to have as a child that my mother rarely ever let me have. My mother's maiden name was Cummer, and our guest's last name is Cummer. And we both have a background in, I don't know, something about the Philadelphia Dutch. I don't know.
No, you got
Somebody
it.
named
Something
John
about the Philadelphia
Cummer.
story.
Yes, somewhere in the back of the history of 5 generations ago, maybe,
Yes.
or 6.
Yes.
Someone named John Cummer is a link between me, ergo you, and our guest, Anna Cummer. Hello, Anna Cummer.
Hello, cousin. How are you?
We call each other cousin all the time.
We do, because we are cousins. We do. We share a relative, John Cummer,
Good old John.
from Ontario. And then as the Cummers went west, your side of the family settled in Manitoba, right?
No.
Oh, no, you're... Oh.
There might have been some Saskatchewan.
We're the Saskatchewan Cummers.
Oh. I think I feel like we were Edmonton from at least 4 generations ago.
Okay.
But my mom agrees with you that there's some, no, you're
Oh,
right.
for sure.
Yes,
For
yes,
sure.
absolutely. We were in Manitoba. No question about it. Air
Hi
Force.
there. Air 4. Hi
Air
there.
Four.
Hi, Air 4 history professor Griffin Cork here. What Karen and Anna are forgetting to mention is, of course, the Cummer household war, where they rallied their bannermen to each of their sides and fought to be the Saskatchewan Cummers, which is kind of where the confusion lines in. But they like to really gloss over that part of history.
Well, that was Jacob, who's my great-great-grandfather. But John, we think, is the common ancestor.
And Jacob was a black sheep.
Common
He was
Cummer.
problematic. What Anna and I are trying to do here is kind of bring the Cummers back together after years of a family rift, thanks to Jacob.
We're tossing around. Do we know all this? We're tossing around a lot of stones at our ancestral glass house.
The only thing we know for sure is that we share a common ancestor, and his name was John Cummer, and he lived in Ontario. That's
And
it.
he was a piece of shit.
No, he was wonderful.
Yeah, we don't know.
No,
we
we
don't know.
were-
Yeah, I have no idea.
We have a book called The Cummer Memorandum, which actually charts our family history from when they landed on, as my dad likes to say, on the second Mayflower in like 1656 or whatever in Pennsylvania. And we were German, and therefore we are descendants of the Pennsylvania Deutsch, but now they're called the Pennsylvania Dutch. So there you go.
Is this real?
This is real.
I said a weird Game of Thrones thing, but this
No,
is
no,
actually
no.
a real
This-
document you have?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a book. It's like, it's a tome. Like, it's huge.
Mom has it too, right?
Yeah,
Anna?
yep.
Yeah, and we found like a paragraph in that book that somehow
like
talks
Oma
about
has
John.
one?
Oma has the book. Yeah,
Like in her house?
yeah.
She has a photocopied version of it, doesn't she?
Maybe you gave it to us,
Oh, maybe I did.
I'm
or
going to call her right now live on the podcast and tell her.
or
to freaking
Grandpa
bring
AIDS
it.
gave it to us, which is, wait a second, her mother's maiden name was Cummer, and she married Robert Gordon AIDS, which made my mother an AIDS. So yeah, somewhere she got it from. Okay, let's find out from Sandy live on the podcast.
Well, because you did show me your chapter, your family
That's right.
chapter, which I have seen, which I might actually have a photocopied version because you photocopied it for me. I have a hard
Emma.
copy. Oh,
I'm in the middle of recording the breakfast dish, but I'm
Put her on
calling you to let
speakerphone.
you know for when you come down to Calgary to see the Stage West for Kids show, you need to bring the Cummer Manifesto or whatever you have.
memorandum.
The book that says we're related to Anna Cummer. You need to bring that. And if you don't bring it, I'll know this has all been a lie. This freaking Da Vinci Code that's been in your house and you've been lying to me.
This is really great for the podcast listeners to only hear one side of the conversation.
Okay, great. I'm going to put you on speaker just for a second. Say goodbye to the breakfast dish.
Mom,
Goodbye, breakfast dish.
Hi,
Hey,
Sandy.
thanks, Mama, bye.
love you. Bye. So
Anyway,
she says,
that's the peak of the breakfast dish technologies of having a call-in guest right there.
you confirmed, though, we have a relative in common.
Yep.
Yeah, she thought maybe his name was Thomas.
Oh,
Could be that too.
We could chat about this the entire time.
could.
This is fascinating to me.
And actually, if you want, I could run upstairs and grab my version of the Cummer Memorandum. I think.
Oh my
seriously.
God.
I think
Do
it. I think it might be here.
do it.
Okay, let me see if I
I
can
think
find
you
it.
should.
Okay,
Yeah,
hold
I'm
on.
going to wait here.
Okay, I'll be right back.
I don't think we've ever sent a guest to go do chores.
No, we have on the Bridging the Gap because kids are like, I got to show you my Elmo puppet. Yeah, okay, go get it. I can play the guitar. Go get it. Show it to me.
This is kind of a crazy episode. I didn't know this was real. I thought this was a myth.
Oh, no. This is what, you know what?
Why don't we bring her to family? Why isn't she? Why don't we?
Well, it's
why,
like
don't we, why don't we go to Christmas Eve at their house? What are we doing?
It's like
We have family in town and we're ignoring them every holiday.
sixth cousin once 6 times removed or something. Like it's so far down the line.
No, it's
that
time
we're
for us
stretching.
to reckon with our family. What happened?
I think it's
Who
Jason
won the
Rothery and
banner
Evan
war?
Rothery and Kevin Rothery know that years and years and years ago at some point they have some relative, but they don't consider it.
Wait a minute. I thought Jason and Evan Rothery were actually brothers.
They are, but they share an ancestor with Kevin Rothery.
Well, but hold on, because does that work with everything? If I know 3 people with the last name Anderson,
I don't know.
No joy.
Did you find
No
it?
joy.
No joy.
Oh,
I think it went back to my parents' house in BC.
Well, that's okay.
well, call them live on the podcast and let them know that I need a package ASAP.
And their last name's Cummer. They should have the Cummer memorandum in their house.
I think that they actually, because at one point it was disseminated among the 4 of us, the 4 children, the 4 Cummer children on my side. The 4 chosen. And then slowly my dad started to like claw the copies back because I don't think he trusted that we were going to care for them. So he now has multiple copies of this like beautifully bound giant history of our family. So
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He keeps them in the family mausoleum. He's hired Scourge to watch over with a rifle. This is amazing. I didn't know this happened in real life.
No, this is true. We're not pulling your leg. We are absolutely related. And it took us a long time too, Karen, didn't it?
Well, you lived in Calgary, I think, a long time before we really got to know each other or before we worked together.
Yeah.
So I think it was doing Games Afoot.
Yeah, Games Afoot.
Yeah, Games Afoot. And we were I remember sitting out on the bench outside the bathrooms in the lobby of the Vertigo and going, my mom's maiden name was Cummer.
And I went, no. And you went, yeah. And I said, spelt the same way?
Get the manifesto!
And you went, yeah, Cummer. And I went, no. And I said, well, we have to be related because it's so specific. And then we started to dig. And I got my dad to pull out his tome, and you got your mom to pull out hers. Yep. And we discovered that we did have this common ancestor. John, or perhaps Thomas.
John.
Yeah.
Does
Tom
that
John.
work with everything, though? Like, there's a gazillion Andersons. Are they all related? How did you know? How did you know, like, specifically this Cummer was going to work out?
Because it's such a specific name.
It's like Cork. There's just not a lot of Corks.
No.
So
There's a whole port named after us.
there's a whole city called Cork.
But isn't it also a port town? Port Cork.
I think it is a port.
Thank you,
I don't
Anna.
know.
Gosh.
You're both right.
I don't like it when family fights.
You're both right. It is a city that happens to have a port. So you both win.
Griffin, when you say port, I feel like you're not listening to me say
I feel like you're chatting about the wine.
Wait, when you said port, did you mean the drink? I thought you meant like
No.
a place where
I
boats
did mean
come.
the location. No. That was. I'm saying jokes for the podcast, even though we're unraveling my family tree branch by branch in front of God and country.
Oh my Lord. This is the best. This is the absolute best. So the reason I love the fact that Anna Cummer is my cousin.
No, hold on. I know you're going to try and pivot away from some family things because here's the other thing. I bought one of those Ancestry 23andMe kits where you're supposed to like spit into a tube and go get DNA things.
Yeah?
And then it's just sitting on my dresser right now because my dad told me that I shouldn't do it because it'll raise insurance prices or something. The government will have my DNA and therefore they know my predisposed medical history, which kind of makes sense. I don't know though. So should I do it and then find out if we were the Saskatchewan Cummers? Or will it tell me that? I don't know.
Well, if you have any German blood, then yes, you are a Cummer.
For the longest time, I thought I had German blood because I had an Oma and an Opa. But then I learned as I was growing into the family that Opa was the second husband. So I don't know.
It leaks.
Sorry? Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our scientific discovery. Karen's here in the broadcast room. We just had some tech issues, but if Karen wants to repeat what she said for the scientific community, go ahead.
The German blood of your Opa, my stepfather, leaked at some point. So you do have German blood in you. I don't know how, but it
Oxford
leaked.
University, I know what you're thinking. She might be
Anna's
threatening
looking at
me.
me like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay, I'm done with ancestry things now. It's already been 13 minutes. Oh my God.
And, 13 and me, Ancestry.
23andMe.
23.
Yeah.
Karen. It's port.
I was going to say, a couple of Christmases ago, my brother, for fun, Russell Cummer, sent the entire family.
Russ.
Yeah, Russ. Have you met my brother?
No, sorry. We're all family.
We totally are. You would love him. You both would. He sent as a Christmas gift the 23andMe tests. And some family members were like, yeah, woohoo, let's do this. And like spat, spat, spat. We haven't for some reason. And very much like you, Griff, I've just sort of like kept it on my shelf going, should I? Is this gonna unearth like all sorts of things that I really don't want to know? I mean, ignorance is bliss, right? And do I want that information out there?
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know, because I know that there's, what was it called? Ancestry.com, I think?
Yep.
That was the one that like led you down the path and got you names and locations, right? Mm-hmm. Where I'm pretty sure this thing just tells you like your like heritage and like it gives you the percentages that you're like 10% Ukrainian, whatnot. But I don't think it's like, and your great grandpa's name was Largos or whatever, you know?
No, it doesn't. Yeah, it's entirely genetic, but it will give you like things that diseases you're potentially predisposed to. Certain like.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I was too cheap. I didn't buy the health one.
Oh, you didn't.
I just got the heritage one. So maybe that's fine. Ha! There you go, Dad.
Yeah. You'll just find out, how much of Cummer blood you have in you.
How many different types of white am I?
That's right.
Well, listen, you're going to spit in that thing and it's going to go somewhere and someone's going to use that spit and out of DNA, they're going to build a clone of you. And then that person will come to my house and I won't know it's not you.
Yeah, that is what clone means.
Yeah. So don't do it.
It's okay, because as Oxford University recently discovered, that clone will be leaking. So that's how you'll know.
Well, and that clone will also be a baby, so that would be confusing.
Oh,
That's true.
Yeah, so genetically, they'd be exactly like Griff, but they wouldn't develop to be Griff.
But reasonably, I'd be different still.
25 years later.
Yes, but even then, 25 years later, that clone would have had different experiences, would have been exposed to different environmental, things, and therefore, even if they're genetically identical, it's like identical twins. So they're genetically the same, but they're completely different people.
Yeah, the clone could probably like backflip.
Oh, for sure.
So I could get a clone of Griffin.
Sorry, Karen, or kickflip.
What?
The
with
clone.
a skateboard.
Yeah. But you'd have to teach it how to do that. You'd have to teach the clone
yeah, someone
would.
Someone would have to do it. I couldn't, but yeah.
But I could start again with Griffin. Like I get a genetically perfect baby, and then
I could fix all my mistakes. I could white out my child, is what I'm hearing.
Mistakes, they're my mistakes. We discussed that in the last episode.
But it wouldn't be you, Griff. It would be genetically, it would be you. But that's about as far as the similarities would go.
Name him Thomas. His name's Thomas.
Thomas Cummer.
Thomas John. TJ.
TJ.
Actually, I'd be cool to have a clone named TJ. That's rad as hell. That's so metal.
This is my favorite part of this whole day.
But you want to know something hilarious? I almost became a geneticist. It's instead of
is that real?
Yes, this is real. So I finished my high school in Hong Kong at the International French School. What was it called?
So many questions already.
I know. Anyway, it's long and convoluted. But I sort of, finished. I was doing the IB program, and I was just writing my finals. And I was saying to my dad, I was like, okay, I think I'm going to be a scientist. I think I'm going to go into genetics. And he's like, really? Is that really what you want to do? I was like, yeah. I could change the world. I could play God. He's like, yeah, but don't you want to be an actor? And I was like,
this is the opposite of the normal conversation between parent and kid.
And I was like, yeah, right. When I was in Canada, I was doing all this acting and I really loved it. Yeah, maybe I do. And he I remember sat me down and like almost held my face and said, well, acting is a young person's game. So why don't you try being an actor? And if that doesn't work out, then you can be a geneticist. And I was like, sold!
Your father. I love your father so very. Seriously, that's the opposite thing that any parent says to their kid who wants to be an actor.
Yeah.
I have questions for your father. Because if my child came up to me and said, blah, 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 anything blank, 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 and I could play God, that would be my first question about what my kid just said. Oh, what do you mean by that, though, honey? What was that? Did I mishear you?
Oh, but Griff, you know me. I would be a benevolent God.
That's true. Okay.
I would take care of people. It would be for the greater good.
I'd make sure they're all perfect.
Everybody's going to be fine.
Perfect.
In your acting career, have you ever played God?
Well, Here's a nice segue for you. As an actor, no. But as a playwright, hells yes.
You are God.
You are.
I am the world.
Yeah, I get to create worlds. I get to, influence characters. I get to change stories, particularly as an adapter of established pieces. There's something really fun about messing around with the source material and making it more relevant or making it more applicable to this day and age. So yeah, I kind of feel like in a weird roundabout way, I am getting to play God in an artistic arena.
Yeah.
I still don't get the segue. I don't know. I have no idea, no clue whatsoever what Anna Cummer might be segueing us to. Griffin, do you?
No. Anyway, that's the end of the breakfast dish. Thanks, everybody. I appreciated our genetic chat.
Who wrote this?
This episode of The Breakfast Dish is brought to you by ATB. Hosted by Todd Hirsch, ATB's financial vice president and chief economist, the Future of podcast has launched its 3rd season.
By connecting with industry leaders to uncover what's on the horizon for the things that mean the most to you, the Future of podcast promises to give you insights to help navigate what is often an uncertain future.
Explore how our economy and communities can not only brace for change, but embrace the opportunity it creates.
Subscribe to the Future of in the Apple Store, Google Play, Spotify, and everywhere podcasts are found. And connect with them at atb.com/thefutureof. And while you're there, subscribe to our podcast, The Breakfast Dish.
The God in Anna Cummer adapted.
Oh, her eyes are rolling back. The God speaking. No! Anna, stay with us.
Adapted Alice in Wonderland.
The White Rabbit.
You tell us, Anna. Tell us how it started. I know that you were reading it to your kids. Tell us, okay, first of all, tell us everything. Where it is, why it's there, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so in June of this year, I got a telephone call from Haysam Kadri, who is a very dear friend of mine, and who at the time was the interim artistic director of ATP, Alberta Theatre Projects. And I just thought it was a social call. So I was like, great, how are the kids? How's the wife? Oh yeah, summer plans? Awesome. And then he was like, I have a proposal for you. And if anybody knows Haysam, you always go, okay.
All right.
What's the what? And he said, so ATP had planned to do a different holiday production, but because we didn't know where COVID was going to be, we didn't know whether there would be live theater, we didn't know cast sizes, there were so many ifs. He decided to put that planned show on the shelf and do something that was very, very COVID friendly. So he said, I would like you to please adapt a fairy tale, a well-known fairy tale for our holiday spot. And I said, okay, great. Give me a couple of days. So I went away. I thought about it. I was like, oh, Jack and the Beanstalk. We did Cinderella a couple of years ago. What can we do? What can we do? What can we do? And my kids and I, at the very, very, very early days of the first lockdown, so like March, April 2020, in order to instill some kind of normalcy or some kind of routine, we started reading novels together. And Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland was the very first one we picked up. And it was awesome. It's so bizarre. It's so out there. And then I started, and they really enjoyed it. And so I called Haysam back up a couple of days later and said, okay, I could do Jack and the Beanstalk as a feminist retelling of Jack and the Beanstalk, or I could do Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And he said, oh yes, that's the one. Let's do that one. Name recognition, like awesome characters, could be really whimsical and magical. Here's the thing. You can do it for 3 actors. And I went, okay, yeah, that's a great idea. So I went.
Jack and the Beanstalk has like 4.
I know, right? I was like, shit, I should have stuck with that. So I said, yeah, sure, no problem. Because the thing is like I've discovered through my career as an actor, as a voice artist, and now as a playwright, that any challenge or any obstacle always turns into an opportunity. So I was like, okay, great. So this is a really steep obstacle or a really steep ask. And I think actually it will net something really interesting. So I started to adapt it. They wanted the first draft by August 1st. So I had 8 weeks to write it.
Holy crap.
And Craig was, my husband Craig Hall was directing at the Shaw Festival. So the kids and I for the month of July were in Niagara-on-the-Lake in Ontario in like full lockdown because they had already gone into their third wave and everything was just locked down. So it was actually kind of great. So every day I would get 2 hours. The kids would get 2 hours of screen time and I would get 2 hours to write. And I managed to adapt this like crazy rambling story with 25 different characters into a 90-minute three-hander. And it was really interesting. At first, it was going to be a puppet show because I had just come off. I was cast as a puppeteer in Fraggle Rock Back to the Rock. So the Fraggle Rock reboot that was filmed here in Calgary. It was such a good experience. Oh my God. And so I was just like steeped in puppetry. I was like, oh yeah, this will be great. We'll make it a puppet show. That's how you're going to get 3 actors to play all these different characters. So I handed in the first draft and Haysom was like, wow, this is amazing. Like I had designed all of these puppet yokes where like a single character could control 5 different wooden puppets that would be up here with like on trigger mechanisms and all this stuff. And he was like, wow, that's a really big build. And I said, yeah, it totally is. He's like, we can't afford that. Oh, okay. Hand puppets then. Okay. So then I sort of like downgraded to hand puppets and I was like, okay, well, this isn't quite as effective, but that's okay. It'll work. And then eventually he said, I think just given the very short rehearsal time we're going to have and the skill set that's going to be required for the show as it exists now, I think we're going to we can't do puppets. So I was like, oh, okay, we can't do puppets. What can we do then? He was like, I don't know, but you got to figure it out. So I went back to the drawing board and for some reason, and I can't even really tell you what it was, but I had this sort of moment of inspiration. And I thought, vaudeville. Why don't we do vaudeville? So we have 3 players and they get to inhabit all these characters. We can have it be super, super lo-fi or it can be really like hi-fi depending on the budget for the production. And it's all about like old-fashioned theater magic. And all of a sudden, everything fell into place. So for example, like the play starts. Oh, and this is the other thing. I wanted to include some of the history of the story because it's so interesting. So basically, Lewis Carroll, whose real name was Charles Dodgson, he was a mathematician and he just happened to be
Charles Cummer.
I wish. Charles Dodgson. And it's so interesting. He actually had a stutter, so he couldn't say his last name either. Dodgson is how he would pronounce it. And so, he was just this fascinating character who was so much more comfortable in the company of children and really felt the pressures of Victorian society. And I think that is in his book. Like I think that's very prevalent in Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. So basically he's on this journey or on this boat ride on a beautiful Sunday afternoon in the countryside just outside of London. And he's there with the Little family, Liddell, Little. And Alice is the youngest of the little children, and she has 3 sisters, and they're all there. And there's Charles sort of rowing the boat, and I think their father's with them as well. And the youngest Alice says, "Oh, I'm so bored, Charles. Please tell us a story." And this is how he created Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. He just started talking, and over the length of the afternoon, he told the story in its entirety. And they kind of laughed and were like, oh, great. Okay, great. Lovely. Thanks so much. And then a year or so later, I think, he wrote it all down and presented it to Alice at the request of her mother, a bound copy of the story he had told that day. And then, I can't remember who it was, but a family friend got a hold of this manuscript and went, oh, no, this is too good, my friend. You need to write this and get it published. And so he went back and he edited it and he tightened it up and all that good stuff, and it got published. And so the beginning of our play kind of chronicles that. So we have 3 silent clowns come out, which is the way that a vaudevillian variety show would begin. You've got the sort of the 3 silent clowns. And then you've got the poem, which is actually written by Charles Dodgson. And then we sort of go into a straight scene, which is also what would happen. And it was so funny because as I started researching vaudeville, I sort of saw these playbills. And I was like, oh, clowns, poetry, straight scene with, Sandra Bernhard or whoever was the big star at the time, musical number. Oh, magic trick. And I was like, it just all fit. It was one of those
it's already
amazing,
kind of vaudevillian.
It's totally is. And so I handed that to Haysom, and he was like, this is brilliant, do more, do more. And so slowly we started to pull away from the source material. So it's really inspired by Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And he kept saying, he's like, put more Anna in it, like make it Alice's story. And it's now become this sort of, this vaudevillian retelling of a coming of age story, as a young girl sort of navigates the difficulties of growing up and behaving appropriately in polite society, and then eventually sort of realizing that you need to be empathetic, realizing that you need to navigate the way you go through the world, because you influence other people and you want to make sure that that's a positive influence. And I'm just so proud of it. It's so cool. It's so great.
I loved hearing you talk about that, because I guess we just rarely get to hear the beginnings of what gets a playwright to sit down and write a play. It's usually like, what was it like writing it or whatever, but to hear all the stuff you did in the background oh my God. And then, anyway, so fascinating.
I know what you're saying. It's elements of like, here's what I wanted to do, but we couldn't do it. But here's like where that idea generated from, and then this to this to this to this. It's the puzzle pieces of the inner workings of someone's mind is always very, very fascinating. That kind of conversation is, I think, why we started this show. That whole monologue right there, that's good stuff.
It is. It's exactly that. It's like, just, we think artists are cool. Tell us about yourself and your art. Man. You're gnarly.
Oh, art. Thanks, pal.
Sorry.
So the show is
Karen,
called...
was that a pirate or a nerd? Hold on.
That was gnarly. That was a dude in high school in 1989. Come on.
Just the dude.
It's called In Wonderland.
Yes.
It is at ATP.
Correct.
Alberta Theatre Project.
Yes.
And it's now been extended.
It has. So we're now playing until December 31st. So we got 4 extra days due to popular demand, which is so great. I think for all ticket information, you can go to albertatheatreprojects.com. And just so everybody knows, they've got wonderful COVID protocols in place.
Yeah.
So everybody that attends who is 12 and older need to show proof of vaccination, which is the QRL code. There is no social distancing in the auditorium, so you do have to sit masked. But there are opportunities to unmask when you're enjoying, your rabbit-shaped cookie and hot chocolate at intermission.
Nice.
And there's all sorts of wonderful promos that are happening as well. So, if you go early, then there's sort of a happy hour in the lobby and all sorts of fun stuff.
Oh, yeah. I got an email from Matt saying it's like staff price drinks from 6 to 7.
Yeah.
I'm going to enjoy that for sure.
Yeah. And they've done lots of...
And he'll be wasted watching the show.
I love rabbits. Do the trick again. Yes.
You know what? If this is one show, like, honestly, and that's the other thing. That was the other thing that Haysom was so adamant about. He was like, please don't write me a TYA show, which is theater for young audiences. And I said, okay. He goes, I really, really want it because it's ATP, which is sort of known as this, like, cutting edge, new Canadian work theater place. He said, let's make sure that parents will really enjoy it as well. So there's this double layer all the way through of, whimsical, like whimsy and fantasy and magic for the kids. And then there's a lot of like little bit older jokes for the adults. And what's so fun is like, I didn't realize how funny it actually is. And that's actually a testament to Haysom and to our amazing cast, Natasha Georges, Graham Percy, and Sarah Roja. They just make a meal of every single opportunity. Like it's just glorious.
4.5-star review from the National Post for Anna Cummer's In Wonderland. A powerhouse cast, found that whimsy. I would have given it full 5 stars, but some drunk guy got on stage and said, I'm related to the playwright? He was just screaming. I wasn't sure what was going on there.
National Post? They're not my newspaper.
That's not here.
And Haysom directed it. Yeah.
He did. Yes, he did. And like that man doesn't sleep because he was in tech for our show while he was rehearsing your show.
That's right. Because he's playing Scrooge in one of the casts
That's
of Christmas
right.
Carol at Theatre Calgary.
And then he he opened our show on a Friday, and then on the Saturday did his first 10 out of 12 tech day.
Yep.
As an actor. So
and you know what? I say the same thing to him. I go, oh my God, when do you sleep? But I remember another artist in Calgary once who is a go person once saying, you know what? I do it because I want to. Like I'm proud of the fact that I can do all of those things at the same time. So I do them. If I couldn't do them, I wouldn't do them, which is sort of where I think Griffin is in his life right now. Because my mom used to say, I can't live life at the speed of Karen because I'd have 6 or 7 things in the day or whatever. You know, I'd be doing a million things. And I'm slowing down, but Griffin is just like boom, boom, ba-doom, boom, boom. And now it's like, I can't live life at the speed of Griffin.
I've had to very purposefully cut myself off from working too far into the evenings. I'm not a morning person, and I get a lot more done in the evening, but then your brain gets too wired if you do it an hour before bed. So I've given myself like a cutoff time to just like play video games, you idiot.
Are you a morning person or an evening person, Anna?
You know, it changes. And I think that's theater. I think theater did that to me. So like, for example, when you're in rehearsals, you have to be a morning person. And then when you're in show, you have to be a night person. So I guess it happens. Yeah, it happens as it needs to. So, for example, right now, what am I doing right now? I'm kind of like, I've got a couple other writing projects and the kids. I mean, the kids are up at 7 to go to school. Sure. And so, and then if I do have an early day, then I tend to have an early night because I just, you know, I'm a sort of solid 8-hour kind of girl or.
Oh, me too.
I get old and grumpy very fast.
You know what's going to happen one day, Anna?
What?
One day your kid's going to be in grade 8.
Sorry,
and you're going
what's going on?
You're going to say to your kid, I just need to sleep more. Go make your own lunch. And they will, and it will be the best day of your life. It was like the first day you got to go out to the car without a car seat or a diaper bag, and you felt so free. It's the day. Like, I didn't do that all the time to Griff, but once he hit junior high.
Did you make my lunch until grade 8?
Yeah, I think so.
I am so spoiled. I'm such a little brat. Are you kidding
You make
me?
your kids lunches. Because that way you know that they're getting decent food, right?
I'm like 15. I could have driven. No, I guess that's
in
16.
grade 8? No, you were 13 in grade 8. 13.
No, I was 13 in grade 6.
Maybe 12 even.
Yeah.
Because Olive's in grade 6 now, and she's 11. Yeah, 13. You would have been 13 in grade 8.
Damn. Blasphemy.
Yeah. No, anyway, there is this moment where you get to sleep in, and they make their own lunch, and it's marvelous. And then they're 25, and then you wish that they still needed you to make their lunch. But you get over that.
I had some of that quiche you gave me. It's damn good quiche.
I made a quiche, Anna.
Good for you, Karen.
I learned to cook over the pandemic, Anna.
That's amazing.
Like I cook now. I make some things. Griffin is 24 years of takeout and KD. And now it's like, do you want some quiche? I'm making pork loin.
The minute I moved out of the house to go to university and or get my own place, they renovated my bathroom. They got a new hot tub, and mom's cooking gourmet now. The minute I leave,
I love it.
Which I guess makes sense because I'm the reason she didn't have time.
Yep. There's a lot of mental space has been freed, and so now you know. Now you know.
Kind of messed up Ouroboros. First, we examined the extended family, and now we examine the internal family. This has been an odd Wednesday afternoon.
Oh, it's just family. Don't worry about it. We start with family, we finish with family. It's the way it goes.
To be.
Yeah.
Although I do have to ask you this. We've been asking our guests this recently. Yes. Alex Cummer, who you did a show with at Quest Theatre, which is the reason I was talking about you this morning, because I was meeting with Nikki Loach and she was just raving about how amazing you are, because you had done a small TYA show for her with Alex Cummer, right?
Yes.
Alex Cummer wrote the jingle, our intro and outro music for The Breakfast Dish.
Yay!
We love Alex Cummer so much, and in the jingle, she sings, "Tell me your dreams over bacon and eggs." And so we now are asking all of our guests, A, if you are a vivid dreamer, what's the most recent dream you've had, or the one that you've had a long time ago but really sticks in your brain? And if you're not a nighttime dreamer, then instead tell us a dream that you have for your future, like an aspiration.
But Anna, we're family.
We're family and I'll level with you. We want the nighttime visions.
We want the nighttime
aspirations, whatever. I want to hear if you ate a car or something.
Okay. I actually am a very vivid dreamer, and I remember.
This is currency.
Well, I'm actually going to tell you two. So I'm going to tell you one from when I was a child, and this was a recurring nightmare that I had. And I have no explanation for it whatsoever. I'm sure there are like psychologists out there who will listen to this and be like, I can tell you what's wrong with you. But we'll wait for those emails and those telephone calls.
And I will be forwarding them to you.
The breakfast dish at gmail.com. The breakfast dish at gmail.com.
Yes, please do. Please do. So anyway, I was about 6 or 7. We were living in Singapore at the time, and the recurring dream was my Uncle Peter, who we used to call Peter Pan, my dad's best and oldest friend, was at the base of a tree. And he was like, come over here. I want you to come and play with me. And I was like, okay, sure, no problem. And as soon as I would get close to him, he would turn into a raging gorilla. And I would have to climb into the tree. And as soon as I got out of his swiping range, he would turn back into my Uncle Peter.
Oh my God.
And he'd be like, come on down, Anna. Don't be afraid. Everything's okay. Come on down. And I'd be like, okay. And I'd slowly crawl back down. And as soon as he could get me, he'd turn into this raging gorilla again. And I would have to go back up the tree and he would chase me. Anyway, it was horrible. My 7-year-old brain just exploded and leaked out my ear. And I started to scream. Oh, I know, right? Leaky. We're very leaky. I started to scream, and this went on for, I think, weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And I was so distraught. And my dad was always really good. He was my person. I love my mom. I love my mom so much, but we're too similar. And so my dad was always the one who would comfort. Yeah, it took me a long time to get over that dream, but I've never had it since. But wow. I just had a stint of it. And then this past week, okay, this is so weird. I didn't have a very good week last week. And I think it has a little bit to do with the pandemic. I think it has a little bit to do with sort of the changing terrain that is my professional career. And so I had a week, I kid you not, a week of performance anxiety dreams. I don't have anything booked. No live performance booked in any medium, whether it be film or television, whether it be live on stage, whether it be voiceover, nothing. And yet I'm having acute performance anxiety dreams where I'm naked on stage, or people are handing me scripts and going, you got to go on. And me going, I haven't rehearsed. It doesn't matter. Get out there. And then every dream, and this is the weirdest thing, ends with me apologizing to somebody who I love. There was one for Haysam Kadri where I had to be like, I am so sorry. I am such an asshole. I am so sorry that I let you down. Literally they're almost, they all followed the same structure. Dramaturgically, they were all exactly the same. Where there was this horrible, and it was, 5 or 6 nights, this horrible performance anxiety moment. And then me ending the dream, apologizing to, university teachers that I haven't even thought of for 25 years. Haysam Kadri, who I just worked with. My husband, who was this weird, not really Craig, but kind of Craig. And I was apologizing because I didn't get a play written in time. It was the weirdest thing. Luckily, however, I went for a 2-hour-long walk on Monday, and I actually did some creative work on Monday that I got paid for, and the dreams have stopped. So
interesting.
I'm hoping that maybe that it was just a weird little hiccup, a little moment of my psyche barfing all over my brain for a week. But yeah, sorry that both of those were kind of weird nightmares. But
no, that's fine.
That's fine. Good stuff.
My theory is that the anxiety dreams are to remind you that it's okay to take some downtime. It's okay to not be working right now, because it could be awful if you were working.
Yes. You know what? I love that. And I'm gonna hold on to that, Karen. Thank you.
It's just your brain wanting to be creative. That's exactly what it is.
My theory, in fact, it's more than a theory. It's there's a lot of confirmed evidence with it, is that the Breakfast Dish is part of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported. The intro music you just heard and the outro music you're about to hear, as we've talked about, is composed by Alexandra Cowman. All graphic design for the Breakfast Dish has been done by Morgan Ernter. Karen, what's going on this week?
I will tell you right now that the Okotoks Film Festival, it's a festive film festival in Okotoks, and that is a one-night celebration that is happening Friday, December 17th at 7 p.m. at the Okotoks Cinema, and it's online, I think, as well. Tickets at showpass.com/Okotoks-festival-film-film-festival. The other thing that's coming out, this sounds really great. It's in Water Valley. It's at the Water Valley Church on December 18th at 7:30 p.m. It's a jazzy Christmas with the Darcy Stamp Trio. December 18th, it's a swingin' Christmas night, and the Water Valley Church is at 29404 Range Road 52. And you can buy tickets at ticketstripe.com/Darcy-Stamp-Water-Valley.
That's really good stuff. If you have a chance to check out anything with the Okotoks Film Festival, they're really great. Katie Fornell, the festival director there, runs a very tight ship. I have been to Water Valley so many times, and I didn't know there was a church there. I know there's a saloon, a general store, a liquor store, and a baseball diamond, and that's literally all that I thought was in Water Valley. Anna, thank you very much for joining us on The Breakfast Dish.
Thank you, guys.
How we like to wrap it up, usually, is we ask our guests an improvised question that we did not plan, and it may have something relating to what we previously talked about, but it doesn't matter, because Karen's a professional improviser. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
If you had to write a play about genetics, what would the play be called?
What would it be called? I actually have written a play about genetics. But
what is it?
But it was never titled. It was kind of what we talked about. It was one that I wrote in university. And it was when genetics was just kind of hitting the mainstream. Like it was on the news and all this kind of stuff. And it was just that. So basically a woman dies and the husband has kept her genetic code with the hope that he can clone her. But what he doesn't realize is that it's not going to be her. That he ends up with this child that he loves, but that it gets a little weird because it's his wife and not his daughter, but he has to raise her. And then she finds out that she's not his daughter, but actually the genetic replicant of his dead wife.
So,
So anyway,
Rohit
that sounds great.
ATP,
But
are you
title
listening
it.
to this? Because this is your next season. So she's just going to title it right now, though. It's going to be called.
Okay, yeah.
And
What
this is
it'll be
locked in.
called? Okay, go for it. What's it?
No,
Oh, I have to do it.
No,
I have to do it.
Yeah, nice try.
It's got to be like double down, double. I don't know.
Double down's good.
I never got as far as the title.
Is it double down the KFC sandwich that has 2 pieces of chicken instead of bread? Isn't that also what the double down is?
Then that's perfect.
Oh,
honestly,
that play's going to be finger licking good.
Oh, is it? It is going to sell. My phone is ringing right now. KFC wants to sponsor me.
It's Colonel Sanders. I love theater.
I hear you're doing a genetically modified chicken show. I would really, really like to, be involved.
Let's team up. Me, Colonel Sanders. There's nothing problematic about my history.
They're Colonel and the Cummer.
Oh, let's
nice. Thank you, cousins.
This has been The Breakfast Dish.